Before we get into it, and I know you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, as they always say.
Yeah.
However, I do.
Oh, go on.
And by a title. The title is 10 out of 10.
Isn't it great?
It is the best. Can you give the title, please?
The title is Dancing on Eggshells.
Incredible.
And the subtitle is Kitchen, Ballroom and the Messy in Between. I can't take credit for the title.
Oh.
Because the title is what sold it to me. I went into my publisher's office and they were like, they've been nagging me to write like a mental health memoir book for years. And then after Strictly, they got me in and said, well, what if you wrote a book called Dancing on Eggshells? And Jo, the publisher, she thought of the title in the shower.
It's good.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. So that was Jo.
That was Jo.
So I need Jo to get in the shower now and think of a book title for me, because Dancing on Eggshells, I was like, that's selling itself already.
It is. It's an amazing title. It is.
Covers everything.
It covers everything. The dancing, the baking, the slight weird personality that I've got, the ADHD, everything.
Covers everything. How was the process for you? Like sitting and writing a book?
Well, this is my 6th book, because I've written 5 cookery books as well.
Oh, yeah.
But this one is
like memoir.
This is a memoir, so it's non-fiction narrative. But actually, I wrote it as I was starting my sobriety at life, because I'm sober now, because I completely had to be. And actually, it was great, because when you look back at your life, when I was in therapy, for example, you look back and you think, the therapist always asked me like about my relationship with my mum, and sometimes that could be quite damaging, because I'd then start fixating on things. But when I wrote my memoir and look back on life generally, I was like, I've had a really good life. It's been difficult at times, but I'm not a victim of anything. I've had a few struggles, but for the most part, I'm really grateful that my life's been so brilliant with people I love and people who love me. So it was actually I hate the word healing, so it's just a bit hippy-dippy, isn't it? But it was a healing process.
Yeah.
And, people have already read the book and they've said, like, they can take elements of that story and apply it to their own life. So even though it's my story, I do hope it'll help people in their journey with sobriety, with ADHD, with body dysmorphia, whatever people are going through. Yeah. It can apply to their life too.
I think it will as well. And I think the way that you write and the way that you talk about it as well, it's very sort of, easy to relate to. You're not, you're aware, like, saying healing's a bit dramatic. Yeah. Which it is. And I don't know if it might be a northern thing. I don't know.
Probably.
Where it's just like, shut up and get on with it. But I found it like, if you talk about like going to having therapy or whatever, my brother would be like, don't be so stupid.
It's true.
Do you know what I mean? True. There's a lot of that in there, and maybe for men as well. So I think the way that you talk about it will help people open up.
Yeah, it's matter of fact. It's honest. And, I've not tried to paint myself in a good light. I've been a bit of an idiot. I was going to swear then. I've been a bit of an idiot in my life, and I'm not afraid to admit that, because I'm not the same person. I've grown. Yeah. And we all grow.
And that's life, isn't
That's life.
What's the point of life?
Frank Sinatra, that is life.
That's life. And when you were writing it, John, were you because I did a book last year, and I'd send like little bits to people, and then I'd be like, oh, actually, I don't want their opinion on this bit, but this bit's quite funny, so I'll get their opinion on that. Did you send bits out to people, like to friends and family?
Yeah, I did. I sent it all. My partner Paul read everything, because obviously it talks about us and our relationship. I sent to my mum. My mum read the manuscript as well, my stepdad. Like, I let people read it first, and then I gave them the opportunity for me to change anything, because I wasn't going to write a tell-all memoir, tell-all, like a scandalous book without people seeing it, because it's not a scandalous book. That's the point. And so, I shared it with my family and friends, and I was grateful for that, because they kind of gave me a bit of direction and said, well, this is a bit rubbish. Like,
you need that.
This is lackluster. Yeah. Pull your socks up, boy.
Bit boring, this bit. You're like, hey, it's my life story.
But no, I'm grateful for that. I sent it to a food writer, and this food writer sent me a message back, and she was like, this is rushed. It needs work. And I was like, okay, I can have a meltdown, or I can get down to work. So for 4 days, I just sat there at my desk getting the book edited. And I was grateful for that feedback, So it was, I think you have to accept your flaws and improve work, don't you, from that?
Totally, yeah. And it's rare, I think, as well. I thought when I was doing mine, like, it's quite rare that you'd sit down and think, my life! You don't really do that, do you? Because you're like getting up, going to work, you're just getting on with things.
And you think about things like little bits and bobs, don't you?
Yeah,
you don't sit there and
think
from conception to, from cradle to the grave.
Yeah, you're not like, let me think about my childhood. So it's quite great, it's quite a healing
It's healing,
process.
but also it's a bit weird, because it's a bit narcissistic, isn't it, in a way, as well? It's all about me for 3 months. But actually, when you write it, it's like, well, that is what it is, done. dusted.
Yeah. And then what's the reaction been like? How's it been received? I'm sure you've been getting loads of messages and DM'd from people.
Yeah, people have loved
people
it.
Have read it.
People have been really, really lovely about it. Like they've accepted it for a very honest, quite dark. There's dark comedy in there as well, because I'm quite dark in my sense of humour. And people like it. Some people have said that it really does help them with their life. It applies to their life. They think it's really honest and open, because, you know, when we work in the media, sometimes we're a bit afraid of our truths, aren't we? And we kind of live in shame a little bit sometimes. But I just think, well, you've got to own it. You've got to just put it on a plate, let people take what they want. And I think, you know, there's been a lot of headlines about the whole Strictly story, which I don't want to go into now, but I think the point of it that I'm trying to make is that it's not about Strictly. Like, the Strictly story is a tiny portion of this book. It's a book about, you know, mental health, about coming of age, about coming out. So there's so much more to it than just Strictly.
Yeah.
So I hope people don't just buy it because they want a Strictly gossip story, because it's not that.
Or don't get it because they're like, I've read that Strictly bit, but that's not what it is.
That's like maybe 10 pages of a 304-page book.
Yeah.
A book, you know.
And do you know what I love? My favourite type of book is like a coming of age and like a growing up story and like stories of redemption like that and like realisation.
That's what it is, isn't it? You know. That's what it is, and I'm glad it is that, because I didn't want it to be a woe is me story, because my life isn't woe is me. I've had a brilliant life, like I said, so I'm grateful for everything.
Well, congrats on the book. If you want to go and get it, you can get it right now. Dancing on Eggshells, 10 out of 10 title. John didn't come up with it, but he did write it.
I did write it.
Good, did write it, so go and check it out. Hey, we, of course, have talked about all the serious stuff in the book.
We have.
However, we need to talk about this. There's a recipe in the book for tea. Now, people might be like, we don't need a recipe for a cup of tea.
Oh,
but actually,
you
do. I was saying before, the most important moment of the day, like that first brew, is make or break.
It is.
Don't you think?
And if you have a bad brew can ruin your day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a bit dramatic.
I think it can. It can start the negative spiral.
I mean, getting hit by a bus or something would ruin your day more.
Worse.
Yeah, you know, only slightly.
But that might have been caused by a bad cup of tea.
It could, because you would be thinking about how bad that tea was, and you don't look left and right.
Slam.
And that's it. Bam.
Yeah.
So, a bit dark, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit.
But no, a bad cup of tea is an abomination to all of humanity, let's face it.
Oh, well, I thought I'd get the good listeners of Virgin Radio to get in touch to tell us how they make their tea and see if it's approved by John WHAITE. No less. Here we go. Ruth's been on. She says, hi, Nick and John. Quick cup of tea. She says, I brew in a bone china mug for 4.5 minutes. If you have more time, I'd do in a teapot with an extra bag. For example, 4 bags for 3 people and brew for 5 minutes. Milk in the bone china mug first. She does say, I am very fussy. Is that a yay or a nay for you?
Well, Ruth, I think bone china, I do like a cup of tea in a bone china mug, but I think if it's not 7 minutes brew time, you've not done it right, love. And also the main thing is, does she squeeze the tea bag?
Oh, do you squeeze?
No, you mustn't.
Oh.
You must gently escort the bag from cup to compost. Because if you squeeze the bag, you can taste it.
Oh, really? I always squeeze it.
I bet it tastes slightly bitter and ferrous on the tip of the tongue. Well, that's why. If you leave it in for 7 minutes, Yorkshire tea, and then escort the tea bag from cup to compost, put in plenty of milk, that will be a life-changing cup of tea.
I don't know why my mind's blown at the sentence, escort from cup to compost.
Well, because otherwise you'll squeeze it.
Yeah, you can't squeeze it.
Escort it.
All right, sorry, Ruth, no. Elaine from Aberdeen says, hi, guys, it's Elaine here. Tea bag in, pour boiling water in, leave for 4 minutes, tea bag straight out. No stirring or squeezing the tea bag like a maniac, she says.
Yeah.
Add milk and stir. Magic cup of tea. Best and easiest one you'll ever have.
Well, I agree with Elaine a little bit in terms of the non-squeezing, but 4 minutes, if I'm in a rush, all right. But if I've got the time, 7 minutes, and you put a saucer on top of the cup to stop it from going cold.
Oh, my God.
And if you've got loads of time, you can pre-warm your cup.
Oh, my God.
But that is
John.
a bit far.
Ulrika in Ealing says, in a pot with 2 tea bags, 1 sweetener, and some milk to be added a few minutes later. Leave for a few minutes, and then it's ready. Don't know about a sweetener.
There's not enough real direction in that.
No,
it's all a bit whimsical, isn't it? And wishy-washy.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ulrika, absolutely not.
No. Craig from Gloucester, our final one. Craig from Gloucester sounds quite extra. I use filtered water and boil the kettle once. Once boiled, leave for 1 to 2 minutes, then pour into the cup. I let the tea brew for 5 to 6 minutes and then add milk so the tea is a nice golden colour. How do we feel about...
But there's no mention of whether or not he squeezes for a start.
By the way, I love how, John, this is the most serious you've been on one.
It is, isn't it?
But there's no
There's no mention of whether or not he squeezes the tea bag, which is absolutely vital. Filtered water, Craig. I mean, unless you live in a muddy old sewer, what's the point? But you do you. At the end of the day, even though I know I like my cup of tea, 7 minutes non-squeezed, I'm not going to be so prescriptive and say that you're an evil human being if you don't do that.
No, it's your own kitchen. It's your rules.
You do you. I mean, I will quietly judge you on the inside and think that, you don't deserve any happiness in life at all.
But apart from that, you're fine.
I am joking, by the way, because people will get offended by that. But if people get offended, I just say lighten up, life's too short.
Yeah, come on, it's too short. How long into working on a show do you get your tea demand across? So, when you start day one, say you started here day one, or day one on Steph's Packed Lunch, you couldn't be like, can I have it 7? It's a bit annoying. Well, how long into a relationship or a friendship with you, John, do people know how to do the tea?
I think if you are willing to tell that person your life story and dirtiest secrets, you can ask them to make you a 7-minute tea.
Okay.
And my producer Courtney on Steph's Packed Lunch, she's the most beautiful little human being ever. And whenever I ask her for a cup of tea, I start to say, but leave the tea bag in. And she says, yes, I know, 7 minutes, don't squeeze plenty of milk. So
yes, I know.
She's got me down to a tea.
Well, now you've done your book and you've opened up your world and your brain to everybody. Everyone who reads your book knows now how John Waite likes his tea.
7 minutes. Do not squeeze.
Do not squeeze. John, thank you for coming to see us.
Thank you.
Have a great bank holiday weekend.
You too.
And congratulations on the book. It's out right now. If you've not got it, go and get it. Treat yourself.
Yeah,
Order it. Have a cup of tea with it.
You can get signed copies on my website as well.
There you go. Get a signed
copy. Sold out. I've got more coming.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you, John.